Good morning everyone, how's it going today? Today I'm going to show you how to build a Chrome extension for ChatGPT. Alright, this is going to be a project-based tutorial, so by the end of this video you will have this extension right here that I'm going to show you. The extension has an icon right here. If you click on it, there is a pop-up that shows up, and then you have two buttons inside the pop-up. One of them sends a prompt to ChatGPT. There you go, I just clicked the button and as you can see there is a prompt that was automatically sent, and we're also add another button that will render mathematical equations automatically like this. Okay, the main goal of the project is not to show you how to render the equations, but basically how to create this kind of extension that interacts with ChatGPT. So also this knowledge will not only be useful for ChatGPT, but you can apply this for pretty much any other website and any other Chrome extension idea that you have. We are going to be using the latest technology of Chrome extensions, which is Manifest v3. And yeah, without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to load a boilerplate, okay? Of course, you don't necessarily need a boilerplate already made in order to build your extension. You can build your extension from scratch, but this is just going to make it a little bit easier. If you want to, you can download the extension, the boilerplate, this boilerplate right here. I will leave a link in the description so that you can clone it from GitHub, okay? So let me just tour you around the folder structure of this boilerplate and how it works, because it's a little bit different to other kinds of JavaScript applications. So of course, Chrome extensions run on JavaScript, and here we have it. So the folder structure pretty much looks like this. We have our Webpack configuration right here. I added a Tensor plugin right here. It basically just allows us to load a production build to the extension because there was some problem with the encoding. So you should load that. We have, like, of course, our README. We have a package.json with, as you can see, we have only Webpack and our encoder, and of course we have Babel to make our JavaScript as compatible as possible. Our git ignore, our Babel configuration, and here we have our source. Okay, this is basically where we're going to be writing some of the code that will be, this is where we're going to be writing the code that will be loaded in the page that we want to load it on. But actually the extension itself, the file that you're going to load into the Chrome browser, is not all of this. It's only this one right here, extension. And as you can see in our Webpack configuration, the output of our source JavaScript is going to be content.js inside extension. So here it is, content.js and content.map. If you don't see this, of course, that is going to happen when you just download it. If you had just downloaded boilerplate, what you're going to want to do is going to do npm install to install all the packages that are in my package.json. And once that is done, you're going to want to run npm run, if I'm not mistaken, it's build dev. There you go. And now you should have content.js and content.js.map. Okay. And so as you can see, this is the actual file that you're going to be loading to Chrome. Inside of it, you have a Manifest.json. We will take a look at it in a moment. We have our content.js, which is the file that is going to be loaded inside our page. We have a folder for our pop-up, but we haven't added anything there yet. And we have our icons. As you can see, this is the icon that I had loaded here into my extension. And there you go. So this is pretty much the boilerplate. Let's take a look at these files and what they do. All right. So now what we're going to want to do actually first is to load our extension locally, okay? Why so? Because, I mean, as you are developing your application, you're going to want to be able to test it, of course. The problem is that the way that you usually install applications is you download them from the Chrome Web Store. The thing is that if you're developing it, it's not there yet, so you're going to have to load it locally in order to continue improving it and testing it, okay? The boilerplate that I shared with you should be all ready to be loaded into Chrome, and let me show you how to do that, okay? Remember, of course, that I told you that the actual extension file that we're going to be loading is this one right here, the extension directory, not the entire project folder, okay? So there we go. In order to do this, I mean, I had the icon here just a moment ago, but I just deleted it to show you how to load it from zero. So you're going to want to go to Chrome extensions, like your extension manager. And right here, as you see, we have a developer mode toggle. You're going to want to enable that one, and then you will see you have more features. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to click here and load unpacked, okay? And then from here, you're actually going to choose the extension folder, all right? Remember that if we go one directory up, you have your entire project folder, but you don't want to select all of it. You only want the extension folder, all right? Then you click on select, and there you go. The boilerplate was correctly read. As you can see, we have our icon right here that we selected from here. As you can see, we have inside our extension, we have our icon.png. It's this one. And it is the icon that has been showing here, okay? Here you have the name of your extension, the description of your extension, and that is exactly what you see in the Manifest.json, okay? So now that your extension is loaded, I'm actually just going to pin it up here just to show you how, where is it? There you go. Now we have it pinned right here just to show you how it looks. And now let's take a look at what each file in this extension does and how to use them, okay? There you go. All right, so now let's take a look at our file Manifest.json. This is the most important file in your extension, as it basically tells the Chrome browser what your extension does, what its name is, and what permissions it has, and also what other files it's going to be using, okay? So basically, if you don't have this file, your Chrome browser is not going to be able to read it, your extension. To show you very quick some of the things that you have right here. We have the manifest version is the first element, and here you're gonna write number 3 because that one is the latest version of the Chrome manifest. Okay, this basically means that if you have like the number 2, your extension is probably going to take longer to get accepted and validated in the Chrome Web Store, and also the manifest number 3 has like more secure features, and it's going to, I feel like it's a little bit easier to understand. So definitely go for number 3 if you're watching this video. Then you have the name of your extension. As you can see right here, the name is the name of your extension, and here you have the name of your extension. But if I update it, let's say, one second. Let's see, let's update it to your awesome extension, and let's update the description as well. This is my awesome description. There you go. If we save it, and remember that we had loaded it before, so you're going to be seeing it here. But as you can see, it hasn't changed yet. And that's normal because we need to click right here in order to reload the extension, okay? So basically, whenever you modify your extension, be it just a manifest.json file or any other file inside your extension, like a JavaScript file or whatever, you're going to have to come right here and click on reload right here in order to actually take your changes into account. So this is basically just going to update our name and our description. What else do we have right here? We have the version. You're free to set it to whatever you want, but of course, this is useful to keep track of the development of your application. Here, if I set it to 10.01, this is going to be updated to 10.01. Then we have the icons right here, and you have, you're able to choose different images for different sizes. I just pretty much loaded the same image to the different sizes, but just wrote them down, just included them so that you know that that it is possible to include them, and also so that you know that you can like load different images, like different sized images for different sizes. So there you go. Of course, what you pass right here is the location of your image. So as you can see, I'm going to a directory called icons, and then inside of it, I'm looking for icon.png, which is basically, since my manifest.json right here, it's going, manifest.json is right here. It's going to look into icons and then to icon.png. And this is my icon. And as you can see right here, this is the icon that is being loaded. So there you go for that. What else do we have right here? We have the background and the service worker. I'm going to explain this a little bit more in detail when I go through the background.js, but this basically is the file that is going to be running on the backend of your extension. Okay, the JavaScript that you write right here is not going to have access to either any of the pages of of the current tabs that are open in the browser, or the pop-up. This is basically just to handle API calls or whatever. You can think of it as a backend of your extension. Then you have the action element right here, and of course, if you add the option default icon, it basically means that there is going to be an action associated to the icon. This basically means that if you come right here, this is not a feature in the current application, in the current extension that I showed you, but I imagined you might have seen some extensions that just by clicking them, they do something. That's exactly what this action feature does. That means that, you're just going to pass the icons is exactly the same object as this one right here. And basically means that you're going to be able to tell your extension what it wants to do when you click on those icons, on that icon. And this is something that we can set up in the background.js. I can show you how to do that in a moment. And also the permissions. This is very, very important because this is a crucial part in your validation procedure of your extension. And it basically tells Chrome what permissions your extension has about your user data and your users, like whatever they have open. So in this boilerplate, for example, we are requesting access to the tabs API, which basically gives you access to all of the open tabs in the Chrome browser. And that, of course, is a lot of permission. So just by adding this API right here, you're probably going to be asked to write a personalized message to the Chrome developer team to tell them why you required that API and why it's essential for the use of your application. Okay, most extensions use it, but yeah, you're gonna have to take care of the permissions. And the active tab, basically, it's pretty much the same, but it just gives you access to the current tab. So there you go. Actually, since I'm running tabs, I can just ditch current active tab, and that's basically the same thing. And then finally, we have the content scripts. This right here is not right. So remember that the background.js, which is the service worker right here, did not have access to the page that we are loading. That is normal because it's the one that is going to be handling the API calls and all that. But if you want to run some JavaScript inside the page that the user has opened, you're going to have to write it in. You're going to have to create that file inside of content scripts right here. And as you can see, each element in this content scripts array is going to have like the JavaScript file. As you can see, this one, in our case, it's content.js, which is right here. And as I showed you before, is built, it's bundled from index.js right here. And you're going to tell it as well when, in which pages you want this file to be loaded. So, if your extension is only meant for ChatGPT, you're only going to write right here. chat.openai.com, of course, because otherwise your JavaScript file is going to be injected into every single file, every single page that the user opens, and you probably don't want that. So yeah, basically you just have to say in which pages you want it to be open, and the asterisks right here just mean that anything can come before of it and anything can come after this. So this basically means that it can be HTTP or HTTPS, and this right here basically means that it can be like whichever subdirectory of chat.openai.com. And last but not least, we have run at, which is the location where you want your script to be injected. So as you can see right here, we have our ChatGPT application. And if you write down that you want your script to be loaded at the document end, it's going to be loaded right here, right after body. Okay, that's just standard procedure. If you're running a JavaScript that modifies the elements of the page, you want to run them at the end of the document, so that so that they will have access to all of the elements that have already been loaded. Okay, that's just like standard web development. So yeah, document end, where you want your file to be loaded, the name, the location of your file, and all the rest. I think it's pretty clear. So let's go to the next file. All right, so now what you're gonna want to do is to create a pop-up. All right, remember that what we said is that our extension, when we click on the icon right here, it's supposed to display a pop-up. Okay, and that's actually super easy to do. What we're going to do is we're going to come right here to our Manifest.json, and we're going to add another line. It's going to be inside the action object. Okay, so right here, we're going to add default pop-up like that, because remember, you have to bind the pop-up to an action in order for it to work. Okay, and here you're just going to say the location of your pop-up. Okay, I'm going to say that it's inside of a folder called Popup, and inside of it, it's going to be popup.html. There you go. Now let's create this file right here, and we're going to do it like this. So we're in Manifest. There you go. We're going to create Popup. Wait, I think I already have. Yeah, I had already created the folder. Now I'm just going to create the file popup.html. There you go. And something that you have to know is that the popup is actually, in a way, some sort of its own application. Okay, so in right here, it actually you just write your HTML as if it was a regular website, and right here you can just add the title. Let's say ChatGPT extension, like that. There you go. And now inside of the body, let's just say h1, and let's just write hello world, and then just write a paragraph. We are inside the pop-up. There you go. Now we're gonna have to come back here to our extensions, and we're probably gonna have to reload it. And then let's just click on this part right here, and here we have it, our beautiful pop-up, which is not extremely beautiful at this point. We still have to style it. And just as any other application, you can take some CSS or JavaScript for it. And that's exactly what we are going to be doing right now. Okay, so you can follow me. First of all, let's add a couple of buttons. How about that? Instead of hello world, let's just write buttons. These are the buttons that are going to be used to trigger actions inside of our page. Okay, so these buttons, we're just going to give it an ID of button prompt, because this is the one that is going to send the prompt to ChatGPT. And let's say prompt ChatGPT, or let's say send prompt. There you go. And then let's create another one, and let's call it render, because I mean the idea behind this app is to render mathematical equations, but I mean you can do whatever you want with these buttons. Render math, let's say. There you go. All right, so there you have it. Now you have a beautiful pop-up working with two very beautiful buttons. Actually, let me show you. We can just add some styling to it. So let's do that. I'm gonna do that right here beneath the head, and I'm just going to follow the regular styles, the regular CSS that you would use in a regular front-end application. Okay. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to standardize it all with a box sizing of border box. There you go. What else? We can add a margin of 0 just to standardize it all, and then the padding of 0 as well. There you go. Now for the body, let's say that we want a background color. I think default is white, but let's just add it right here. And all right, so now we have, let's just say that we want to add all of this inside of a div called app, like this. There you go. And then the buttons are going to be inside the app, like that. There you go. So the app element is supposed to have, let's say, we're just going to say it's going to have a display flex in order to show all right, we're just going to add a little title right here. Let's say H1 beautiful extension, like this. There you go. And all right, so what we're going to be doing right now is, all right, so we have our beautiful extension right here, and let's add some more styles. Let's make it a flex direction column, so that we have like our H1 and our buttons afterwards. So let's do that. Not font display. Flex direction, let's say column. Then we're going to say that we're going to align the items to the center, and we're going to justify the content to the center. Just as a reminder, if you don't know what are these like shortcuts, it's just emmet abbreviations. Okay. Usually, I don't remember, but I think it comes by default with VS Code, so you should have it. Then we're gonna set a minimum width to 300 pixels, and let's add a little bit of padding of 1 rem. Remember to use rem, prefer the use of rem to pixels whenever it's possible. And let's just set a default color to black, and let's see how that looks like so far. All right, it's looking a little bit better. But it's still not great. Okay, so what we're going to be doing right now is let's add some more elements here, right here. All right, we're gonna update a little bit our skeleton right here. Let's say this one's going to be a section, and this one's going to be the let's say the class is going to be header, like that, and our header is going to be there, and then we're going to add another section with the class buttons, and our buttons are going to be inside of here. Oops, there you go. There you go. Now there are our buttons, and there is a section, and now it should. Now the buttons are displayed one beside the other because they're inside one single section, HTML element. All right, what else can we do? This is going to be a very, very, very quick CSS thing. So let's say section, the header, It's going to be, let's say, what do we have? All right, let's say font size, let's say font size, let's set it to 1.5 rem. Let's see how that looks. All right, well, that's probably a little bit too big. Let's say 1.3. All right, there you go. Then let's style the buttons a little bit, okay? The section for the buttons, we're going to say that it's going to have a width of 100%, first of all. And then for each button, let's just add some margin right here. Let's say 0.2 top and bottom, and say 0 for the rest, for the sides. And we'll just add some padding as well. Let's say 1 rem on top and 2 rem on the sides. The width is going to be 100% of the available space. Border none. Let's add a border radius. Nope, not background repeat. Border radius, there you go, of 0.5 rem. Then the cursor, of course, we want it to be a pointer. The background color, let's set it to, I have the color right here so that you can just copy it, and then the color of the text is going to be white. There you go. Let's see how that looks like. There you go. It's looking a little bit better. Maybe the header we wanted to center it. Text align, center, nope, center like that. Let's see how that looks like. My beautiful extension. Let's just add a little bit of margin to the bottom here. Margin, margin bottom, let's say 0.5 rems. There you go. Oh, it's looking a little bit better. And now we have our two buttons. Let's add just a little bit of a hover effect on this button, and that should be all. Button dot, nope, hover like this. And let's add a box shadow, not box sizing, but box shadow. Box shadow, it's going to be 0.5 rems. And let's add this color right here. Not like that, there you go. Let's see how that looks like. And now, there you go. Now you have your beautiful styles right here. And it looks pretty good. And just to show you how, to what extent this is its actual application, we can right click on it and we can click on inspect right here. And it opened on the other screen. But what you have right here is actually pretty much its own inspector and its whole developer tools for the pop-up as if it was its own application. You have a console right here because you can add some script, some JavaScript to it. Basically you can do it's your own mini application inside a pop-up. Okay, so that's the way to see it. We will leave the styles and the pop-up like this, right, for now. But next step will be to add some actions to these buttons, okay? And for that, we're going to be using JavaScript. So let's do that now. All right. So now that we have our beautiful extension pop-up right here, it's got the right HTML structure, very beautiful CSS styling. It's time to add some JavaScript to it, okay? And before showing you what actually is going to be doing with the JavaScript, I want to show you a little schema right here, a little graphic that I made for you so that you can see what is actually going on with each of our JavaScript files, okay? So right now we're going to be editing a JavaScript for the pop-up. And that file is actually only going to have access to the pop-up itself. As you can see, if we come back here and we click on our pop-up and we right-click inspect, we have our own console here. It's just as if it was its own application. This console is not the console for the website, for the page. This is only for the pop-up, okay? And that is why we considered this to be like its own application. And then content.js is going to be the one that is going to be running in the page itself. And then background.js is the one that we're going to use to organize our tabs and our API with Chrome. Okay. So there you go. Let me just show you real quick how it works. So to make it a little bit easier by doing, okay? So let's go back to our code right here. And this is the HTML of our pop-up. And right here, before the closing body tag, we're going to, let's add it right here. We're going to add a script tag. And we're going to say that the source, not the area, the source is going to be popup.js. This is basically just the path to the file where you have the JavaScript for your pop-up. And here, of course, we are referencing a file that doesn't exist yet. And since we're inside of popup.html and we're just adding the name, we have to add the popup.js inside the same directory, like this. There you go. So now that we have imported it right here, and right here we have the actual JavaScript, we can just do a console.log and do hello from popup.js. All right, I'm going to get rid of Copilot just so that you can code along. So there you go. Let's just close this and reopen this. I mean, as you can see in the console for this, for ChatGPT, for the website, we don't have anything, and that is normal. We are supposed to have it in the console for our pop-up. As I showed you before, if we come right here to console, we see hello from popup.js. Okay. Now what we can do is we can start getting our button. So let's say our button prompt is going to be equal to document.query selector, and let's do, what was the ID? I think it was button prompt, like that. Now let's do the same but with the other one, which is going to be render, and we will do just button render, like that. I suppose that's the actual IDs that I gave it. Yeah, there you go. And now we can actually start adding event listeners to this, and it's very simple. All that we're going to do is, basically just do as you would in any other application. You can just do add event listener, and then we're just going to listen for a click, and basically we're going to console log prompting, because this is the button that is going to prompt to ChatGPT, prompting to ChatGPT, like that. And let's do the same thing for the other one, which is button prompt put render. We're going to say rendering math in ChatGPT. There you go. Now if we save this, if I'm not mistaken, if we reload the pop-up and we click on inspect, we come right here to console. Of course, we don't see anything yet because we deleted the first console log. But if we, let me just bring this to the side like this. There you go. If we click on send prompt, we see prompting to ChatGPT and render math, also console logs. So we see that our JavaScript is working correctly. Now, remember, I cannot state this enough. This is not the console for the website. This is just the console for the pop-up. If we see the console for the website, you can see it right here. I'm just going to put it down here. This is the console for ChatGPT. Okay, there is nothing of what we're doing going on in the console yet. That is because, as you can see in this diagram right here, all of what we're doing is so far is only involving popup.js, and then it's only interacting with the pop-up. What we're going to want to do now is we're going to want to send a request to the Chrome API so that the Chrome API can send it to content.js. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing now. We're going to be seeing how to catch a request from content.js, like how to catch a request on content.js from the Popup.js. All right, so let's do that. All right, so the objective for this section is basically just to do exactly what we did before, but instead of console logging, well, we were console logging in Popup.js, I mean in the console from our Popup, we're going to console log it in the console from our website. And in order to do that, we're going to have to interact with the Chrome API and send a request from the Popup.js, and then we're going to catch it with content.js. And that is actually very simple to do in the Chrome API. Basically, it works. You can basically see it as an HTTP request. The only difference is that you're more free to do whatever you want because you send a message and you can catch it wherever you want. Okay. So basically, if you send a message or a request from here, you can catch it anywhere else. And then if you send it here, you can catch it anywhere else, etc. So there you go. In order to send a message, we're going to be using this function right here, Chrome runtime send message. And in order to catch it, we're going to, I think it's this one. Yeah, Chrome runtime on message as listener. And this is the one that we're going to be using on the content.js side. But in the meantime, before doing that, this kind of sends a message to everywhere. I'm going to have to target it to our open tab just to make it a little bit more concise and more robust. So let's do that. So right here, we're going to, first of all, get the current tab. And to do that, we're going to use this function right here. I'm just going to code it myself just so that you can code along. And this is what we're going to be sending. And let's say, first of all, we're going to do const and the current tab. And this is going to be Chrome.tabs.query. And then you're going to say active equals true. And then we're going to say current window to true as well. There you go. So now this one right here is going to contain our current tab information. All right. So, and now let's just send the message to this tab itself. And to do that, we do as well Chrome.tabs.send message like this. And the first parameter that we're going to say is the tab where we want to send it to. And our object current tab contains an ID, which is the argument that we have to pass right here. And then we're gonna basically just send our data, and we can say hello world, hello world, like this. And then also let's send our message, which is going to be prompting to ChatGPT. There you go. One kind of important thing is that this is not going to work if you had just done it like this, because we're interacting with an API. And that basically means that we need to use an asynchronous function, because we need to wait until Chrome actually responds with the current tab, and in order to actually use it. So we're going to have to add an await right here. And also we're going to have to add an await right here. And of course, if we're using await, we are going to have to make our function asynchronous. So let's do async like this. I just deleted the event because we were not using it. And there you go. Let me just show you real quick the current tab object. Now this is going to show in the Popup console, like here. Inspect. There you go. Let's see the console, and let's click on send prompt, and there you have it. This is our tab. And there you go. It has active, audible, and as you can see, it has our index, which is the one that we are sending in the message. Something important as well, as I just noticed right here, and this is not only an object, but it is an array with one object inside. Because what this function does is it returns an array with all the tabs that satisfy this options. And since there is only one tab that is active and one tab in the current window, this is going to return an array with only one tab. So I mean, in order to select it, you can either do like this, just select the first element, or in order to make it a little bit more readable and more beautiful, you can just add it like this, which is exactly the same thing. And now, when we click on this button, it is actually going to be sending our message right here. So there you go. But now we have to catch it on content.js. And in order to catch it in content.js, we're going to have to come right here to source. Of course, this is only because we're using a boilerplate with a builder, which is Webpack. And of course, this is going to be bundled up into this content.js right here whenever we do npm run build. Okay, so first of all, let's do, in order to catch it, which was the function to catch it, just 1 second. There you go. So in order to catch it, we had to do Chrome runtime and then onMessage like this, and then add listener, if I'm not mistaken. There you go, add listener, and then you just add your listener. It basically takes, we're going to take an asynchronous function as well. Actually, I'm not sure if we need an asynchronous function. Let's just leave it like that for now. And we're going to take, the first is the request that we're going to be receiving, then the sender, and then the response. I mean, this is just standard. This is not we that are creating it. This just comes from the documentation, as you can see it right here. Request, sender, and response, and then you can do whatever you want with your request. Okay, so right here, if I just do console log my request, there you go. And of course, I am just writing this in index.js. So in order to build it, I will have to actually run build. So in the boilerplate that you have, I mean, if you downloaded the one that I published on GitHub, what you're going to want to do is npm run, you can run watch, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, there you go, it works. And this basically, I mean, the watch is a watcher, so basically every time you save, it's going to regenerate the content.js file. And now, as you can see, our function is in there. So let's come right here. I think that this time we will have to update our extension. And now let's just show this to the right like this. There you go. And let's see if this is working. So we're going to click on send prompt. And it is not working for some reason. Maybe we're supposed to actually use a... Maybe we're supposed to actually use an asynchronous function, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. let's say if we refresh this right here, we reload this, there you go, send prompt. Yep, all right, so apparently we had to do asynchronous. So every time we click on it, there you go. Now we have our message that we were sending, and we have hello world and our message, which is prompting from ChatGPT to ChatGPT. And this comes from this Popup, which is itself its own application, okay? So yeah, I mean, basically what we have managed to do is to communicate between our Popup and our content.js. And now, I mean, if you see the power that you have right now, you can basically modify, I mean, run JavaScript in your page, as much JavaScript as you want, just from your Popup, okay? So, all right, let's just finish this extension real quick, and let's get on with it. All right, so now what we're gonna want to do in this section is basically to just send the right messages from our Popup to our content.js, okay? But first of all, I just wanted to clarify something real quick, is that I had mentioned before that you had to add async here in order for it to work, and the problem is not actually the async thing. I mean, of course, you're gonna need an async to make it an asynchronous function in your content.js if you're making a call to the Chrome API or to any other API. But in this case, the problem why it was not loading is that actually you need to reload the extension and also refresh ChatGPT, I mean your website, in order for this to work. So let me show you real quick what is actually happening. So if I do console log hello my friend right here, and I save it, as you can see, it's already here in my content.js, it's all right. But if I come right here to my Chrome, I mean to my website, and if I refresh it, I'm not going to see anything. And the problem is that I haven't refreshed the extension. Now if I come back, I'm still not going to see anything, because I need to refresh the page as well in order for it to work, because I need to refresh the extension and then the page so that my JavaScript is inserted at the bottom of the page, okay? Remember that what we're doing here is basically just inserting this JavaScript at the bottom of our website. So you're gonna need to reload the website for your new JavaScript to be included. So all right, what we're going to do now is we're going to send the right messages. And to do that, first of all, I'm just going to take this current tab declaration and bring it out here and send this a message as well on the button render click as well. And of course, I'm going to have to make this function asynchronous as well. There you go. So which messages do I want to send? I'm going to say that this is going to be an action, and I'm going to call it prompt. Okay. Remember that when we are catching this information in the content.js, this is basically just whatever information you send it. So this is totally arbitrary. That means that I can call this message or something, whatever, and just catch it on the other side with that keyword. But since I am performing an action, I'm just going to call it action. And same with the value. I'm just calling it prompt because it makes sense to me, because I am sending a prompt to ChatGPT. But I can just call it action 1, action 2, etc. Okay, this is completely arbitrary, and it is you who chooses this. And I'm going to do the same thing with the second one right here. I'm going to do action, and the action for this one is going to be render, like that. Okay. All right. So this is an interesting thing to show you, because this is not going to work. If I just run this, it's actually going to not be able to detect my current tab right here, because I'm using await. And await is of course an asynchronous functionality, and I am just importing my Popup script like a simple default script. And in order for my script to have asynchronous capabilities outside of an asynchronous function, because I mean, as you see, I am using await here, but it's not inside of an asynchronous function. So if I want this to actually work, I'm going to have to come to my script declaration and say that the type, I'm just going to say that it's a module, because modules have an intrinsic support for asynchronous code. And now if I save this right here, and I just save this right here, I'm going to be able to, let's just come back to my content.js, to my content, and let's just log the request. So there you go. Now remember that we have to reload the extension and also reload the page so that our JavaScript is inserted at the bottom of our document. And then if I come right here and I click here and I click on send prompt, I can see that I have receiving a request in the content.js with the action prompt. And then for render, I have the action render, and this I can basically use it to trigger different functions in my content.js. Okay. All right. So now it is time to actually subscribe to the channel. If you're enjoying this video and you are finding it useful, just give it a thumbs up and subscribe, because it helps me a lot, and so that you can also see more videos like this. All right. So what we are going to do now is we're actually going to build the functions for prompt and for render, and we're going to do some object-oriented programming right here for that. All right. There we go. For the object-oriented programming right here, what we're going to do, we're going to be creating a class. But first of all, all right, now let's create the class first. So our class is going to be called ChatGPT extension, just like that. And we're going to make a constructor right here. And then after the constructor, we're going to have a handler. Okay, so first of all, we're going to have a handle request, and it is right here where we're going to include our listener. All right, so our handle request right here, and let's just include our listener inside this handle request thing. And of course, we're going to have to call it inside of our constructor for it to actually work. So let's do that. This dot handle request. There you go. There you go. So basically, I mean, if you're not familiar with object-oriented programming in JavaScript, this basically is just creating a class with our constructor. We have our method, which is handle request, and every time the class is initiated, it's going to run this handle request, and it's going to keep it. So I mean, just help us to keep our code more organized. So right here we have created our very simple class. Now we're gonna have to just run it. Let's do new. Let's just say const extension ChatGPT extension, and we're going to say that we have a new, if I'm not mistaken, I have to say new, yep, ChatGPT extension like that. Oops. There we go. Now it has compiled. Let's see if it's still working. Again, have to reload, refresh, and it's still working. All right, so now inside our handle request, we can actually start checking what we want to do. So first of all, if I like to use if statements instead of case statements. If you're using several, like too many request types, you can use a case statement, but for just two, I guess just if statement is all right. I'm going to say that the request, if the request action equals to prompt, I'm going to execute this other function called this prompt to ChatGPT. There you go. The problem is that I still don't have this function that is called prompt to ChatGPT. So let's create that one. And right here, let's say prompt to ChatGPT. And it is right here that we're going to be saying console log. We are prompting to ChatGPT. Let's just see if that this is working so far. There you go, we're prompting to ChatGPT. All right, it seems to be working. So now basically all that we need to do is to finish this prompt to ChatGPT function. Let's see how to do that. All right, so in order to do this, basically, I mean, this is the most fun part, I think, of developing something for AI or for, like, yeah, especially a language model, is that part of your code, I mean, it's basically programming, but you're actually programming in simple English as if you were telling instructions to a person, okay? So here we're just going to create our prompt. And here I'm just going to say my prompt. Let me just copy it here. My prompt is this right here. So there you go. So my prompt is basically the text that I want to tell, that I'm going to send ChatGPT every time I click on this button. And it is right here. So from now on, if you need to write a mathematical expression, use KTech notation and follow the following rules. If it's a block equation, etc., etc. Okay, so this is basically the text that we're going to send to ChatGPT whenever we click on the button. Okay, all right. So now what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to fill that text into this input field right here, and then once that is done, we're going to want to click on this button right here, or just trigger the submit option. Okay. Let's see how we can do that. First of all, we're going to have to find this element right here. And the problem with ChatGPT I've found is that the classes are not super intuitive in order to actually modify it with JavaScript So what I'm going to do is basically I'm just going to say that I want this text area right here, and if I'm not mistaken, there is only one text area in the entire page. So if I say text area, I should be getting this one, or I can also say copy selector. Let's see how that works. Okay, so let's say const input, and we're going to say document.query selector, and we're going to paste it here. All right, that is that's probably too specific. I'm not sure it's going to work with everyone, but I don't know. Just going to say text area. Let's hope that works. Yeah, I'm just going to leave text area. Let's see how that works. I'm just going to console log our input. Let's see how that works. Refresh. Now if I click on send prompt, I should get it right here. Nope, I am not getting it. What is the problem so far? Oh, it's not an ID, it's just an element. Okay. There we go, send prompt, and we have our text area. All right, so basically we have it. Now, what we're going to want to do is we're going to say that inside that input, we're gonna want to say that its value is going to be our prompt. And then we're going to want to click on the button that is right here. Let's see, can we click on submit? Let's see, input.submit. Does that work? Not sure that works. Nope. Submit is not a method for it. I'm basically just going to click on the button beside it. I'm going to do query selector, and let's say that it is our text area, and I want the button that is beside it. In CSS, this symbol right here basically just means that you want the element that is at the same level but not inside of it, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see where it is. So here's the text area and the button is just beside it. It's not inside. So this is basically just CSS. And then we're going to check the button, and then we're just going to click on click. There you go. Of course, we're going to have to refresh right here. Let's see what happens. So if we click on send prompt, alright, there's problem, cannot read properties of null reading click. Oh, right, sure, because I'm reading this from the query selector, I needed to read it from the document. Alright, so that was dumb. Just gonna reload this right here, reload this right here, and then we go. The send prompt should work now, but let's hope for ChatGPT to not break down right now. And let's see, send prompt, and there you have it. We have our custom prompt that is exactly the text that we were storing right here. Yeah, so I mean, basically now you know how to store a prompt in your JavaScript and to automatically send it in from a popup. That's quite useful. I mean, you can with this knowledge, what you can do is basically you can make I don't know, a library of prompts or get prompts from an API or whatever, and then just automatically send them to ChatGPT just by clicking a button. Right, so now you know how to do that. And yeah, so let's see what else we have here. Let's see. It is time now to just enable the function for render math. I'm going to go a little bit faster on that one because that is not the main objective of this tutorial. But let's just finish the extension real quick. All right, let's go. All right, so in this section, we're basically just going to add more functionality to the other buttons in our popup. Okay. In the meantime, while I was making this video, actually, I found out that actually ChatGPT now has a default support for mathematical equations. So now the extension that I was planning you to build is kind of like not super useful. Like the extension is also already in the web apps in the Chrome App Store, but now apparently it's already inserted into LaTeX. So I mean, that's good. But I'm going to show you how to do something just a little bit different then, because now it's not super useful to make it able to display equations, because apparently if you just send this prompt like this, you will have your mathematical expressions as they are supposed to be. So what we can do now is instead of having another button called render, let's just say that this one is prompt 1, and this one is going to be prompt 2. There you go. There you go. And then so this one is going to be prompt 1. This one's going to be my button of prompt 2. There you go. And this one, of course, is going to call button prompt 2, and this one is going to call button prompt 1. All right. And now basically, yeah, I'm just going to leave the IDs like that. I mean, it's just to show you real quick how this works. And now what we can do here is that we can call this prompt 1, if I'm not mistaken, and then let's just create another case for prompt 2. And in this case, let's just say that we're not going to use we're going to take out prompt from here. We're going to put it right here, like this. So this one's going to be our prompt 1. Basically, right now I'm just creating a property of this object, which has one prompt, which is right here. And let's just create a second prompt like this. Okay, prompt 2, and we're just going to say hi, but in French. Why not? Now let's say something smart, but in French. There you go. And basically I just modified our prompt to ChatGPT function to take any prompt that we want, and we're just going to pass in the prompt. Okay, so in this case, if it is the prompt number 1, we're just going to say this prompt 1, and this is going to pass this this prompt 2. All right. So just to show you real quick what we did here, I mean, just to explain a little bit more in detail what we did here. Here we had previously created a case in which if our request action was equal to prompt 1, we're going to call this function, which is a method in our object, which is prompt to ChatGPT, and we're going to pass in a parameter. This parameter is supposed to be the prompt, and it is the prompt that is inserted into the input value and then sent to ChatGPT. And of course, this makes it that you can use any prompt that you want. I here just created prompt 1 and prompt 2, but you can create as many as you want. And here basically you have, this is basically just gonna send different prompts depending on which action you send. So here, of course, the first button is going to send the action prompt 1, and the button 2 is going to send the action prompt 2. So let's see how that works. Of course, remember, reload the extension, refresh the page, and now these buttons are supposed to send these 2 different prompts. Okay, now let's test the first one. It seems to be working. It sends the prompt that we previously told it to prompt. It is sending this right here, the first one. And for the second one, let's see how that looks. I'm just going to ask it to stop because it seems to be a little bit too slow. Let's test the second one. All right. The second one. All right. The button is titled render math, but let's just change the titles of the button so that it's easier. Send prompt 1, and here we're going to say send prompt 2. There you go. Now send prompt 1 and send prompt 2. Let's send prompt 2 then. Say something smart, but in French. Let's see what it brings. And yeah, I mean, this has been pretty much how to build a ChatGPT extension. Right now, basically, you know the very basics on how to create your own extension and how to communicate between your Popup and your website, and how to actually trigger actions in your active tab. So now, basically, you're ready to build your own projects. Don't forget to subscribe if you enjoyed it, and like, please. And yeah, just was hoping that we could wait to see what it generated. No, network error. All right, so let's try next time. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you next time. See you, and cheers.